Hey, all you pharmaceutical bards and bardettes, welcome back to iCast Fish's Mockery.
A show about hyper, about giga,
and about over-the-counter relief for all of your symptoms. Please ask your doctor before starting iCast Fish's Mockery.
Maybe, you know what, I might agree with you on that one. Anyway, I'm Matt.
I'm Austin.
And the words I said describe roller coasters.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Chads.
Giga Chad and Hyper Chad?
Yeah, is there a Hyper Chad?
Is there a Hyper Chad?
Is that better than Giga Chad?
No, because a Giga Coaster is taller than a Hyper Coaster.
Okay, tell me about these coasters.
And I am not an expert.
I like cork ones.
The cork
That's
ones?
the kind of coaster I like.
Yeah.
The ceramic ones? What is that? Who wants that? My drink's going to slip right off.
Yeah.
If it requires a coaster at all. If it doesn't require a coaster, it'll stay stuck to it. Yeah, sure. But then why do I have a coaster under it?
Okay, but let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Ceramic cork bottom.
Yeah, but
with
the cork inset on top?
With a lip.
Oh.
So that it doesn't slide off.
Yeah, so it's got something to tip over. So it's got something like tip on when it hits the edge. Instead of maybe that tiny chance where it would just slide off and land upright and do a little splashy, now it's guaranteed to fall and spill everywhere.
Okay, well, how big are these coasters you're talking about? Are you talking about like...
I'm talking about hyper coasters. I'm talking about giga coasters. I'm talking like any size.
When you said you prefer cork, I thought you meant like corkscrews.
Oh, okay.
Which is something that roller coasters do.
Oh, you were talking...
I was talking about roller coasters.
You were talking about... Oh, my God. Oh, my... Am I blushing? Oh, my God. I'm so embarrassed
you're
right now.
100% blushing. I just got back. And when I say I just got back, I mean like
I witnessed this happen.
Like 1 hour ago.
I saw Matt drive all the way back here from out of state even.
Out of state, yeah. Like we drove through, I drove through like two other states to get to the state I was going to.
Right.
With a friend of ours. I'm not the expert on roller coasters. She definitely is. But apparently the difference between a hyper coaster and a giga coaster is that a hyper coaster is 200 feet or more and a giga coaster is 300 feet or more. The drop, I mean. Mm-hmm. And that only applies to ground level, I guess. Whatever. Anyway, so apparently all giga coasters are hyper coasters.
Ah, okay.
Because anything that's 200 feet or more is considered a hyper coaster.
So if it's less than, is there like a thing below hyper?
I don't know.
I guess it's probably just a roller coaster.
I think it's just a roller coaster. Because I don't know. Because it all just dates.
Is there something above giga?
Not yet. I don't think.
I think that there are coasters with 400-foot drops.
Yes,
sort of.
But
not a traditional like up and then drop, huh?
Yeah.
Is that what matters? Does that partially matter?
Well, what matters is that the drop distance only counts down to ground level. So there are roller coasters close by even that go down into like ravines and stuff. Those drops don't count.
But so like the drop on the dragster or on King Dakar, right? Like those just up and down. Does that count?
Yes.
Okay, so those are at least giga coasters confirmed. And then they might be whatever else.
Are they that tall?
King Dakar, I thought was over 400 feet. But I don't know. It was a long time since I've ridden that.
I've never ridden that one. But
it's just imagine the Top Thrill Dragster, but slightly better. I think it was slightly better.
Slightly better? Why? Yeah. Why would you say that?
Because you slow down more at the top.
Really?
That at least I did. That one time I went on it.
Well, that's true.
You know, each go is a little different. They do, it turns out, calibrate them based on the weight of the car. But even then, you don't always get the same experience. But yeah, no. like we hit the top and we were like, oh, nice and slow. You could see a nice view, and then you were fast again in an instant. It was great. It was that was good, because the best part of a roller coaster, of course, and you could say it at the same time as me here, is going fast.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I would agree. You know what? I'm finding that when I was younger, my favorite thing was big and fast, right? Like the first time I ever went on the Top Thrill Dragster, I was on the younger side. Well, I was a teenager, I guess, technically, but I wasn't dragged, but I was very heavily convinced to go on it. Yeah. I did not want to. I was afraid.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be like my favorite of all time. And then I was more inclined previous to that, I wouldn't go on any roller coasters that went upside down at all. Corkscrews, loops, like all that stuff. Wouldn't do it. And, ones that were really tall. The thing about the dragster is, because of its placement in Cedar Point, you can walk up practically right next to it and look up, and I don't know if the human neck is capable of craning enough to actually see the top of it. Yeah. From right next to it.
It's fully incomprehensible.
Right. It
from ground level.
It is so tall.
You can't tell where the end of this thing is.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially the way that it curves away from you at the top, and you're just like, is it 20 feet tall?
At least.
Is it infinity feet tall? I don't know.
Somewhere between them. The thing that's really made me nervous about it is that for those of you who don't care about roller coasters and are still listening, first of all, thank you for still listening.
Yeah, wow, you're really
sticking to it.
What a trooper.
It's not going to be the whole show, probably. Anyway,
no.
Cedar Point is an amusement park on Lake Erie, way north in Ohio, in on Lake Erie in Ohio, and so it gets windy there. That's one of the things that made me really nervous, because if you look at the way that it's constructed, it doesn't look super stable.
And it moves while you're on it.
You can kind of watch it.
There's some shaky, not shaky. It's more of a, not a wobble either. It's a sway. It sways. Whole thing sways.
Exactly. And I'm sure it's safe.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's safe.
Yeah.
Somebody got injured recently from it, but they weren't on it. It was somebody in line.
Oh.
Did you hear about this?
No.
Like a bracket fell off as it was going and hit somebody in line.
Ow.
And that was cause for, I believe, permanent brain damage.
Ow.
They did survive, but their quality of life is greatly diminished. So it's been shut down for a while, but they are planning on reopening it, I guess. That's what I've heard. Just with more safety features. I don't know what they're doing. They're replacing the cars or something. I don't know. They're doing something to it and then reopening it. But I guess it was a freak thing that couldn't have been noticed during inspection, is what I'm told, what I've heard. These sources are secondary, coming from our friend who loves roller coasters. So I didn't research this myself, but moving on.
All right. Yeah. I got not homebrew. It is homebrew, I guess. Official homebrew. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next edition of D&D was announced today.
Yes, it was.
But it's not the next edition. It is one D&D. So it's a one-dimensional game. They're actually removing one dimension from the tabletop aspect of the game, and they're making it one-dimensional. So now your characters can only move left and right. So that's gonna so things like Fireball, which relied on that 2D AoE, not gonna be that good anymore. But any chaining attacks like the lightning kind of ones. Oh my God.
Really good.
Yeah. You just get yourself surrounded and fire one of those puppies out. Man, you'll be leveling battlefields. I guess maybe not technically leveling since it's one-dimensional, you know?
Right. So there's no up or down.
Yeah.
Really, to speak of.
One-dimensionalness is awful to try to conceive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Maybe I have too much empathy for one-dimensional characters, and so like I feel like to imagine a one-dimensional life, I have to like put myself in it, and I don't want that at all.
No.
Same with two-dimensional, actually. Don't want that.
You don't want the empathy for them.
No. I'm gonna stick to being in a four-dimensional world. Thank you very much. 4+. I'll take more.
Yeah, you're looking at that hypercube, and you're like, yeah, that's a 3D representation of where of where I want to be.
Yeah, right. Okay. Anyway, so one D&D was announced, and essentially the idea is there aren't going to be new versions of D&D. They're happy with 5th edition. And players are happy with 5th edition.
Yeah.
This is abundantly clear. There are people who don't like it as much as the other editions, but
you can still play them.
And not only that, but they're currently starting some beta tests of some new rules that I think are going to pull in some things that people have missed from other editions. But they still don't have to call this a new edition then. They don't have to be like, all right, this is 6th E. It's not compatible with 5th E. We're not going back there. You'll still be able to use all of that stuff. They are, however, revising, I should say, the DM's guide, the player handbook, and the monster manual. So everything's getting revised.
Yeah.
And there are significant you know what? I don't know if you can call them changes because the old version is still relevant and usable. So they must be variations. Must be variations.
Right.
We're going to probably check out some of, not on this podcast today, but we're going to check out some of the new beta rules as they come out. They're coming out in little sets and you get to, have them, read them, use them, and leave feedback
and abuse them. Yeah.
And the first round of that feedback is for the new character backgrounds, which is an overhaul of race, background, and feats actually. So it's like everything about your character's personal history. So that'll be something to check out. The first round of feedback ends September 1st, which is like the week after this podcast comes out. Or yeah, it's like the next week. So it's like pretty close, or it's like close enough. So anyway, it's coming. Yeah. So we're gonna probably be trying out some of that stuff in something that we've got coming up. Should I put myself on the hook for this?
That's up to you.
All right, I better do it.
Okay.
So episode 100, we got something special coming. And it's going to be D&D related, because that's what this podcast is. Wait, is D&D like a game of D&D technically D&D related?
I think it is, or is it just D&D?
Or is it just D&D?
Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I was... Maybe
you're wrong.
Yeah, oh my God, guys, I just lied to everybody in the world.
You should be ashamed, really.
I'm ashamed. I'm one shamed right now.
Don't even get, yeah.
I'm currently a single shamed.
Yeah, and don't be even try.
Yeah.
To be too shamed.
No, I would not. I don't deserve more than one shamed. Okay. That's all fun. That's good. That's great. We'll talk more about 1D&D in the future. Just thought I'd give you guys a heads up, though. That is a fun thing coming.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but on D&D Beyond, they've already started with the. Is that what you mean? You know about all of that that's already happened?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because you mentioned to me earlier before the show started that they're looking to make D&D feel more inclusive in a lot of ways, and that's something that they've really tried already. Because what they've done is they've sort of, well, I forget what they. Oh man, and I don't remember what they're calling it. I think they're calling it the legacy stuff. So on D&D Beyond, if you've purchased the Monster Manual, Xanathar's Guide to Everything, and one other one. The three. There's three of them that have monsters in them.
Right.
Anyway, if you've purchased any of those, you actually can't buy them anymore on D&D Beyond, but you can still use them because what they did was they came out with a new, basically book called Monsters of the Multiverse, and that sort of reimagines all of the creatures from those three books and paints them in this new, more inclusive light that they want to do. And you still have to buy it, but it's one book with essentially 3 books worth of stuff in it. So, I think that some people maybe are a little bit upset about it, but I think that they did their best with allowing you to still use the other books if you want to. Like they're still functional in D&D Beyond. And all the stuff that comes with it is still there, but they all have this label on it that says legacy, and they're sort of like partially grayed out to show you that they're not like really in use anymore. Anyway, I just think that was an interesting way for them to start going about it. And I hope that the website doesn't get too bogged down with like a lot of extra stuff that they're trying to make not like really part of the game anymore. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like you said, they're announcing new stuff.
And they're planning a lot of new features for D&D Beyond.
Right.
And we'll talk about those in the future too. I didn't really tell you anything about that yet.
No.
But I don't know if we'll even get into that stuff or not. I'm
Yeah.
guessing it'll be expensive.
Yeah. Well, it depends. A lot of the stuff that they've come out with recently are just part of the website.
Yeah.
You know
but
what I mean?
This is, you'll see.
Okay.
You'll see. It's going to open the door to many a microtransaction.
Ooh. Yeah. They already started doing that with
like the dice sets and stuff like that.
The virtual dice that you can get and stuff like that.
This is going to go way beyond that.
That's one of my least favorite things is microtransactions.
Yeah. However,
man, yeah.
So with actual like physical products, people will, they'll get, all sorts of figures and stuff. So I could see it being extremely popular.
It could
when they do more of this digital stuff. But yeah, we'll see if we want to get into that. We'll have to look. Like this is not all planned until like it's going to gradually release until 2024.
Oh boy, yeah. So they're really doling this out.
Yeah,
they have a plan, an intensive plan.
Yeah, including a couple of new books over the next year, including I think one about giants. Fun. But yeah. Anyway, so
giants are fun.
Yeah. But we'll get to all that stuff today. You know what I want to talk about? A new D&D show that I watched, and I very much enjoyed it.
Okay.
It's a YouTube channel called D&D On Demand.
Got it.
It's made by the same people who have the YouTube channel Charisma on Command. So they just went to the next letter in the alphabet and they were like, we're setting up a camp here.
This is expanding our territory. Are they going to go the other direction?
maybe when they have kids.
Bards in a band?
Man! Oh, man. I hope so. So listen, it's good. Their show is good. They put a lot of effort into it for something that they're just like trying out, like just seeing if it works.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Right.
They put it. Yeah, exactly the opposite. So imagine this podcast, but in reverse.
The other way. Yeah, I got you.
To be fair, we have professional microphones and headphones and mixer and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wasn't totally joking.
Yeah.
We got our setup.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And we try to treat it as much as we can, in a professional way. Like those guys don't have to go to work if they don't want to.
Right. Which is a luxury that we don't have.
They do. Like they have a lot of things that are required of them, but they keep their obligations to a minimum as much as they can, I think. But their show is good. And I would describe it not as a D&D podcast, but not like a real play podcast or whatever, but a D&D show with visual effects and animations and drawings and stuff and sound effects and music and the whole shebang. Like actual editing, like camera angles, like moving cameras, except it's not actually moving. It's like punching in at stuff. But,
okay, sure.
But it's like really fully edited in a way that I know that other D&D things have been. I just haven't watched them. And I didn't think about it until now, but like you take a look at like Critical Role or what's that called? Dimension 20. I think the Dimension 20 might have a little more editing than Critical Role. Critical Role is basically just straight up, here are the people.
Right.
This is a stream.
Yeah, because it's a stream.
Right, because it's a stream. So it got me thinking about like the difference between those formats, because like this was it was extremely engaging for a D&D, campaign beginning, right? And within the first hour, because the first episode was only about an hour or so, it was an hour and 10 minutes maybe. They had already completed combat successfully once. Like they did a whole fight. That's impressive. In an hour, yeah.
For an hour, yeah.
And they made me like their characters. Especially, you guys, Dog Breath is good. That guy's a fan favorite for sure. 100% guaranteed. Dog Breath is going to, like, people are going to walk away thinking about Dog Breath for a long time.
Oh, I love that name for a character. Dog Breath. Oh, I'm just so mad I didn't think of it.
Oh, just wait until you hear how he talks. Oh my God.
Yeah.
They've got some pretty good character voices. One thing that was weird was that they talked in character the whole time.
Like regardless of whether they were addressing.
They would speak to the D&D in their to the D&D.
They'll speak to the D&D.
I'll edit that in post. In their character's voice. I'm not going to edit that in post, by the way, guys. That's not how this thing works.
We're not going to do that.
No, never. I will take that part out, though.
Yeah.
So I thought it was weird, but thinking about it more is what got me to think of this difference between like a D&D show and a podcast and a stream and a this and that and this. And I realized why I don't continue to watch Critical Role. But like this one I'm going to definitely watch. Number one is the time investment. Number two is the density of it, right? Like this is just going to be so much more dense. There's so much more action. And I think they cut out deliberation. They cut out stuff like that. They are able to edit and cut it out. And I think I liked that.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, that's because that sort of stuff can be a slog to get through when you're watching real play. Is the parts where the characters are just deciding what to do, or going back and forth, or arguing about like this or that. Not even arguing, but just deliberating on do this or do that, or asking questions like, what is the range on this? How far away is this person? Like all that stuff.
So what, like I think that there's a lesson there for DMs.
Yeah.
You know, like you want your campaign to feel like a D&D show. You don't want your campaign to feel like a D&D stream.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it will feel more like a D&D stream because it's real life, right? Like it goes in real time. But like when you're putting it on, when you're doing it, the kind of pacing that you aim for, I think, needs to be a little, like, you should be aiming for a tighter pacing in order to get that kind of action going at all. I don't know, I think.
Yes and no. Because I think that when you're playing D&D,
Mm-hmm.
I think that part of the appeal for some people is the strategy of it and the fact that you can, in a turn-based system, think a little bit more about what your next move is before you do it.
Well, yeah, for the turn-based part of it, sure.
Because combat is, I think, the main area where things can feel like a slog, and like you know, I mean, it can happen anytime, I suppose, but especially in combat because you're looking through your spells and you're like, what else can I do? What are my options? And so often we've talked about this so many times. You always just go back and you do the same thing because you know that that's the thing that works. But like you do all this deliberation before you end up doing just the same thing you always do, you know.
Sometimes you even do some during that. Like you do your first action and you're like, maybe something will change this time and I should do something different. But then you
yeah, exactly.
The following action is the same, then the same, then the same.
Right. And you know, some players want to take advantage of action economy and try to do as much as they can in their turn. So they start looking at their bonus actions and they'll do a bonus action even if it doesn't really seem that helpful, you know, stuff like that. And there's just so many questions to think about, like, my movement speed and can I get there and then over there? And oh man, that gives them an attack of opportunity on me if I do that. So is that worth it? What's my armor class? What's their to hit bonus? What's this all about? And maybe some people like that. I think some people do. Some people don't like that, I would say. But I think most people just understand that that's the game.
Yeah.
Because because that's just how it has to work.
Yeah.
Not how it has to work, but
where I most want a fast forward button is when
you're buying things.
Actually, no, that's probably the most exciting part of the game. Most of the
is buying stuff.
Sort of like you. There's no fluff with that usually, but no, it's when we're in an argument about what to do next, and especially when the players agree about what we should do next, but the characters disagree.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you know, like, or even if the players disagree and if the characters disagree though about what we should do next, I just wish we could fast forward that so often. I mean, you could, I guess, with like a charisma contest or something.
Sure.
And the only problem is that will feel that feels unfair to people in a different way than a strength contest does.
Right, because
you think like, all right, well, yes, you're physically stronger than me. That's unavoidable. There's no way I could win a strength contest unless I lucked out. But for a charisma contest, like that's like I should be able to win if I have the correct argument, and I do.
Well, that's not how it works in real life.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The
But that's how it feels, though. It doesn't feel fair.
Right.
And I think we do like fair gameplay, even though life isn't fair. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Why do you want something that's more like real life?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, D&D is a fantasy game. You want to sort of...
Right. It should be fair.
It should be fair. Exactly. As a fantasy game, it should be fair.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that I see where you're coming from with this, and I think that a lot of it is goes back to those all three of those, like mental or character driven attributes, the intelligence, charisma, and wisdom. It does feel unfair because on one hand, especially with something like intelligence or wisdom, I mean, you know, to use both of them as an example, if a person doesn't feel like they can come up with the right answer, but they feel like their character can, is it any more satisfying to roll a dice, get like a 26 on your result, and then the DM just tells you what the answer is? Like, I don't know if that's satisfying play, you know, because like you said, it's one thing about a strength contest because there's no point in the game where you're at, well, there could be, but there's usually not a part of the game where you're going to arm wrestle the, you know, the bad guy in like really physically, where your real physical strength actually matters. But there are times where I think that your ability to come up with a solution to a problem should be important. And I don't know, but I think that if the player is just given the answer on one hand, I don't know if that's fun. And on the other hand, if they feel like they, you know, but if they don't come up with an answer that feels particularly intelligent, can you always like, I would say that sometimes you could like tweak the scenario to where that solution is the smartest one. But I just feel like there are some instances where maybe you can't do that.
Yeah.
But if you don't roll a dice in that situation, you know.
At the same time, though, like, should logic overpower your intelligence, charisma, wisdom? Like, should actual logic be more powerful than what your character is equipped with?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I mean, probably not.
Maybe only logic as far as it applies to, like, all right, how are you using one of those abilities right now? Explain that to me. But not logic not logic in the way of like, all right, well, here's what we should do because this is right. Like you know, saving these people is right or whatever. And you have this good logical reason for it. Like, I don't think that the real logic is more important than your character's abilities necessarily.
I see what you're saying.
Because then whoever's best at that, like, they just break all of everyone else's characters. Whoever's actually best at debating.
I think that because D&D is well, not necessarily debating, but like coming up with not solutions to problems in terms of having characters argue with each other, finding like the solution to a problem if there's like a puzzle to solve or something like that. That's kind of more what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Because
if your character is really strong, if they have a strength of 20 in the game, which is the theoretical limit, you can go beyond that, but you know.
Right. Yeah, I've seen a Super Saiyan before. I know what that means.
Yeah. The theoretical, yes, going beyond.
I know Super Saiyan 3.
Right. So this is Super Saiyan. And this is Super Saiyan 2. And this, well, we call that Super Saiyan 3. Anyway, The okay, so yeah, so you're like the Hulk. You have 20 strength, right? You can beat people up really super easy, right? But if you want to be like Sherlock Holmes and who like is able to solve like the answer and solution to all of these problems all the time, how do you role play that in a way that's satisfying? I don't know. Or how do you
I guess it's tricky. All right, let's get specific. Let's get real with that Sherlock Holmes example.
Okay, gotcha.
You're in a campaign full of mystery. You're in a campaign where you gotta figure out who did what and when. And it's important, right? Like, because these details matter to the NPCs who you're reporting to. These details are the determining factor in whether what you are doing is just or not. These details are crucial. Okay, so how do you like, what makes Sherlock Holmes seem so smart? It's that he picks up on things that other people don't see. Okay. Then he remembers them later, and then he combines them in a way that comes up with the correct answer. Right? Like, so he's just highly observant.
Yep.
And then his memory is extremely keen. Especially for the the details that are important stick out to him in a way that they don't to other people. So in D&D terms, that I think is like a 20 wisdom. So we'll say that you want to play a detective character with 20 wisdom.
Yeah, wisdom is probably more like a Sherlock Holmes type character. You're right. That's correct.
His intelligence is
also probably pretty high.
It's pretty high.
Yeah.
It's his second highest stat, but I think his wisdom is even higher.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Like there are other people in Sherlock Holmes stories, I think, who are smarter than him, but they're not wise. They don't have. Well, there are people wiser too, but he's kind of like just whatever. But he's a purpose built machine.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
He's got the stuff that does that thing. So I guess what you would need to do is have things stick out more to this character. How do you do that? Like you can't make strength obstacles stick out more to someone who's strong. But then you have to do that in this case. Like the clues need to be obvious to your Sherlock Holmes character. But everyone, like, you do it with perception rolls and stuff like that, right? But then you just have all these constant How come there's no like constant like athleticism roll to like see if you can parkour up a building? Like how come my character isn't constantly like firing off passive athleticism?
Yeah, passive athleticism. Yeah,
sure. My character always knows if he can jump off of something and land safely. He always knows if he can jump up onto something. He always knows if he can kick down a door. Like he's just my character is just dialed into that stuff. Right? Like, but that stuff all counts as wisdom.
Maybe part of it is that having a character that is strong when it comes to obstacles and puzzles usually only benefit that character. But having a character that has high wisdom and perception in particular benefits everybody.
I don't know. If they break down a door, anyone can go through.
Well, right. Well, that's what I mean. Like, so it's not always the case.
Yeah, but if they do some crazy parkour, no one else is going up there.
Right, climbing up something, and maybe they can just drop down a rope. But I don't know. There are, I think, more scenarios where being strong is only beneficial to you than scenarios where having high wisdom is only beneficial to you.
Yeah, unless you play in a fairly adversarial campaign.
Yeah, where it's you against the other players in some fashion. Or just
you all have your own interests. Right? And you're not looking out for them. You're cooperating with them. Right? But you're not like trying to help them.
Sure. I think that the there are two ways that stick out to me primarily to do this.
Mm-hmm.
One is to have some kind of side chat or whisper to this character these details that stick out to them. And then it's up to them what they do about them. You have to be careful though, because if you just like tell them the answer straight up, that's not fun anymore either.
Right.
But if you give them like a couple of details that sort of hint toward what the solution yeah, maybe that makes sense. You know what, Tasha's does it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I think about it, Tasha's describes when it has a few examples of some puzzles you can do. And the way it describes it is you give the players a real world set of time. Let's just arbitrarily say 15 minutes. And if they're still struggling on the solution, if they're still not sure what it is to do, you have one of them roll like a perception check or something of that nature. And depending on the result of the roll, you drop a hint. And like depending on what the roll is, they might get a better or not as good hint, right? And then there's like a certain amount of time, and then another player can try it, and so on and so forth. Well, let's start there. What do you think of that potential way to do it?
As we were talking about this, and as you brought that up, it made me think, this is a lot of work. This is a very particular play style.
Right.
That the DM needs to be extremely interested in.
Probably.
To make it work.
Yeah.
So if you are a player looking for that style, you need a DM who's compatible. Like you're not going to get this from any other guy.
Yeah, probably not. Like, it's got to be somebody who wants to do this. Yeah,
right.
That's true.
I'm not going to do the rest of this song, but anyway, don't worry, guys. I think that I don't know if I can control myself though. It's tricky because I guess you could do a campaign where your characters are doing parkour all the time. Totally possible. Like physical puzzles, right? Like traversal type puzzles. Maybe they're exploring some kind of crazy ruins or something like that, or a dense city. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's really hard to run this stuff. You got to think carefully before you go committing to, a certain type of gameplay for your players, because so like, if you have a character who's based on Sherlock Holmes or whatever, you're going to find yourself doing a whole lot of work to make tiny little detailed hints that are good for this person and only for this person. And maybe that won't even be interesting to the other people playing. Maybe that will actually take away from, man, D&D is so hard sometimes.
Yeah. At that point, you might as well just play a murder, like have them throw a murder mystery party if you want to do something like that.
Yeah.
That might be more up your alley.
Plus, if you have someone interested in this type of gameplay, you should probably do short little things like that. I'm not going to call them one shots. I'm saying like even less structured than a one shot, but do like murder mystery parties or things like that. So that way you can get practice with that style of gameplay.
Yeah, with that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, that could be cool. By the way, I've always wanted to throw a murder mystery party. Oh man, have I wanted to throw a murder mystery party.
But
not this year, but
not enough people to murder.
Yeah.
All right, who would you murder?
Somebody on their way out. Probably. I'd just find somebody who's there.
Someone who just stopped by and they're like, oh, well, we actually got to get going soon.
Yeah.
It's, oh man, we look at the time. And then the lights all go out. And then the lights come back on. And then their car starts. And you're just driving away.
in their car. Now that you've murdered them. Yeah.
The blood drips out the back and off you go.
And there you go.
Muddy shovel in hand.
Right. And let's see if the cops can figure that one out. Murder mystery party. By the way, on this trip that I just took to these parks, there were 2 types of podcasts that were played. Not my choice, but they were interesting. One of them was a gossip podcast where people read like
the gossip tabloid things, or
no, like
okay.
people like submit and they call it gossip, but really they're just like wild stories.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
With like twists and turns in them that involve people gossiping, I guess. Like there was one about this guy who will close your ears if you don't want spoilers for one of these episodes, but these 2 dads were like getting into it. Like they're getting like they lived in the same neighborhood and their kids like attended the same like soccer tournament thing. And they kept like trying to one up each other. Yeah. You know, like that kind of thing. And they had this like squirrel problem in their backyard, and they both wanted to be the one to get rid of the squirrels to try to posture over the other one. And like all these, they're like constantly spreading rumors about each other. And then the squirrels all die and nobody knows like what happened. And then it turned out one of them killed them all with a crossbow and made a hat out of them. Like it was like wild. And they're in like a suburban neighborhood, like out somewhere in like a mid-sized city, I guess. They weren't very specific about where they lived, or they changed all the names and stuff. But the other one was like one of those murder podcasts, you know, that are all the rage.
Yeah, I don't like them
nowadays. I don't dislike them because, you know, she was playing these podcasts and I was like, these are very interesting. I would not listen to them like of my own, you know, like desire though. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be like, I'm going to listen to a murder podcast. But if somebody else was like, hey, do you want to listen to a murder podcast? I would say, sure.
I would say, can we listen to it on at least 2 times speed? Because my God, some of them are just so, oh my God. Quit. Why are you saying the same thing 5 times? Please. Please. We don't need to do this again. Some of them are like that. I'm not going to name any names because I can't.
Because I
forget who they are, and I'm glad.
Know what they are, yeah. They're out of your head.
Yeah. You know what? To me, it's almost like the quality of it is more important than the actual content for a podcast.
The quality,
which is why I don't listen to it.
Yes. Oh,
got him. Oh, I pranked that boy. Woo. Yeah.
You got me on that one.
No, I actually think our podcast is pretty good sometimes.
Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's fun.
Because listening back, like I'll just be listening. So here's my setup.
Okay.
I have 2 monitors. One of them has the podcast and then the show notes below it.
Okay.
And that's what's playing over there.
Uh-huh.
On the other one is where the upload is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And also that's where I have Photoshop open for the thumbnail.
Okay.
So I'm working on the thumbnail. I'm listening to the podcast. And every once in a while, I just have to pause and like crack up. Because a thing that you or I said is so funny the second time I hear it that I have to stop what I'm doing. And sometimes Anna is sitting, our desks. Look, guys, I'm going to draw this picture out here for you. The back of my desk is the back of Anna's desk.
Yes, they're conjoined.
They're basically conjoined.
They're not actually conjoined.
Yeah,
but
it's close.
They're separate desks, but whew, it's close.
It is very close. Too close for comfort. Almost. They're actually probably going to be this close at the new house. Did I tell the podcast we're moving?
I don't think so, but
hey, podcast, we're moving.
Yeah, not very far. There is going to be, though, a new set.
All of this is going to be different. That's going to be the same, although it's going to look a little weird because the wall is blue.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
It's a dark blue. Is it? I think so.
It's a new house. Anyway, so we're not next time for sure. And
so
probably not the time after that. What do you think?
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time?
Maybe next time.
Cool. Yeah, we've got a fun setup.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys will like it. But
yeah.
Until then, we'll be here for now. We are here. We're here now. So yeah, Austin's moving, not far away or anything. Our podcast
is going to continue.
Still very.
We'll talk about scheduling and stuff because that will have to
doable.
be a little different. But we'll get there in a minute.
Yeah, we'll figure.
We'll talk
it
about
out.
that off the show. You guys don't need to know about all that stuff.
You guys don't need to know our.
You don't need to know
lives.
about the hard work that goes into this show, guys. It's an 80-hour a week job, 120 hours a week, maybe.
120 hours a week plus our other full-time jobs that we've had.
Right.
Well, your full-time job.
Yeah.
So
that's another 45 hours a week for my job.
Right.
As it would happen. And so then there we go. That's
like 5 or 6 hours a week for me and my job.
And then the other 1 hour a week is usually, I got a feed basket.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Feed your dog basket. Yeah. And feed Anna. No, she does that herself.
I don't know if she eats on her own, but some days she just doesn't. So
she doesn't eat, or she doesn't eat on her own.
She just doesn't eat, I think. I would think that is troubling, except I do it too. So
I've done it.
Yeah, I'm not worried about her.
Yeah. So occasionally, if it's like a constant thing, that's not so great. But
no.
Occasionally, if you forget to eat for a while, it's okay. Okay, well, that was health advice from us, I guess.
Remember to consult your doctor.
Yeah, don't take that. Yeah, consult with your doctor before you stop eating for a long time.
Yeah. You know what? There are definitely people who should not do that.
Yeah, there are people who shouldn't do that. Yeah, don't listen to us. We're not doctors. My sister is, though. But she's not a medical doctor.
Yeah, she's like a land doctor or something. She's like some kind of like
a doctor of the sea.
She does it. Yeah, she like does a doctor on like.
Isn't that what tuna is? No, that's chicken of the sea. Sorry.
Oh my god, that's gonna be one of those ones, man. I'll tell you, I'm gonna be like doing the thumbnail, and I'm gonna fall out of my chair right through the floor
because of my dumb chicken of the sea joke.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yep. I'm gonna not only that, I'm gonna keep falling forever.
Yeah, you should not have installed that bottomless pit right next to where you sit at your desk.
Look, it's good for some stuff.
It is. If you're
shoot, do we have to come up with what it's good for now?
Leonidas.
Okay. Yeah. I see where I like where you're going with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Leonidas and your son.
Mm-hmm. Is pregnant. Yes, and come on, yes, and
is with Sonic's child.
There's precedence for that. I mean, he did kiss like a human girl. Yeah. In that one video game.
Yeah. She kissed him
in 2006. That's right. He
did not give consent to that. I believe.
Yeah. Was he unconscious or something?
I think so.
Or like dead.
Yeah. He might have been dead. And that brought him back.
Yeah.
Right. Because he's a princess.
If you're worried,
is Sonic the best Disney princess?
If you're worried about spoilers, that game came out in 2006, which at this point was forever ago.
When is the spoiler cutoff?
I don't know. I never know.
Like, I'm allowed to spoil the ending of the Odyssey. You can't stop me.
You're right. I don't know what it is. Oh, wait. Yeah. He like dresses up like a hobo.
Yeah, he rocks up in his hobo garb.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, anybody want to marry my wife? Try shooting this bow through these hoops.
Yeah.
And then his son's like, I'm going to marry my mom. I'm going to marry the crap out of my mom.
I forgot about that part.
And then he's like, I can't put the bow together. And then Odysseus is like, oh, well, I'm a hobo. Let me try it.
Yeah. And then he just does it. Yeah.
And then I don't get what Telemachus got out of that, because like now his dad is just married to his mom again.
Right. And then he like kills everybody.
He does.
He like kills everybody else who was gonna.
He does kill.
Who was like trying to marry his wife.
Yeah.
What I mean, okay, but like they thought he was dead. He was gone for a long time.
He was gone cheating on his wife for 10 years.
Yeah, that's right. So,
hanging out with some nymphs in the sea.
And then he comes back and he's like, how dare these people try to marry my wife?
And look how weak my pathetic son is that he didn't even marry my wife. That's it. I'm doing it all. I'm marrying my wife. I'm done with all this.
Disowning my son. He's too weak.
Or maybe Telemachus can string the bow or something. I don't know.
I thought he could.
Yeah. But he doesn't do the thing for whatever reason.
Well, I think that he was like, wasn't the whole thing, he was like, oh, I can't let these random dudes marry my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, I guess if I just do it, then...
Yeah, that was the idea.
Then the deal's off, right? Yeah. But he doesn't for some reason.
Because Odysseus does.
Right, Odysseus does. Yeah, right. Well, of course, because he doesn't he? Yeah, he rolls up to like the butler or whatever, and he's like pulls down his fake mustache and beard, and he's just like, "Yo, I'm Odysseus."
Gives him a little wink. Yeah. And he's like, "No, Odysseus, you kind of look like him, but maybe like 10 years older."
Right.
Like just based on what I remember of him.
Yeah, you're too old.
You look significantly older than Odysseus.
No,
the guy who, he's been dead for 10 years.
Right. You look like 10 years older than that guy.
You do, yeah. Weird. It's weird that you look like him this much, but
10 years old.
Yeah, he died that was around a decade-ish ago.
What does he do to convince him that he's Odysseus? Because he does something, doesn't he?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I took this Greek mythology quiz. It was just a bunch of random questions like, which person? It was multiple choice. They were like, which person did this thing? Who ran the first marathon? I don't know, stuff like that.
Marathon. Duh.
No, that was the place.
No, that was his name.
I don't remember.
Dummy.
I don't remember the guy who did that.
I don't remember the guy either.
And that wasn't one of the questions. That was just something I thought of off the top of my head. Anyway,
I don't know who that guy is, but I am so impressed that he managed to die after only running 26 miles.
Yes, exactly. People do that for fun now. What was his time? I think it wasn't even
it was a whole day. It was 24 hours. He ran, I think he ran 24 or 48 hours straight and only made it 26 miles, which is less than a mile an hour. That can't be the case. It has to be something impressive.
Yeah, it must.
Doesn't it?
It must be. Right. I don't remember.
But
either.
I seem to remember the story being that it took a long time.
Yeah.
And it was so impressive that he did it nonstop. Like, okay, like I am like I've never run a marathon,
No, neither have I.
and I wouldn't be able to right now. Physically, like there's just not a like I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to run that long.
Mhm.
But like, it's not that impressive if it takes you 24 hours. Actually, I could beat that time. I definitely.
Oh yeah, because you could walk that in
Yes.
less than 24 hours.
Yes. Yeah.
Like not even very fast.
Extremely slow, actually.
Yeah, you could walk pretty slow.
You'd be walking very slow.
Exactly.
I could walk. Yeah.
A mile an hour?
Yeah.
My God. You'd have to sit down on a bench every half mile for like a good 20 minutes.
A good old rabbit in the hare story, you know?
Right.
The rabbit in the hare.
Anyway, I only got like half the questions right.
Uh-huh.
I've read the Iliad and the Odyssey, and I don't remember anything about it. It just jumped into my brain when you were like, it's like the end of the Odyssey, where I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He makes all these dudes do a contest to marry his wife, and then he is like, surprise, I'm Odysseus, and shoots the bow and then kills them all. Like, what's the moral of that story? There's like, what's going on here?
I believe the moral is you should always marry your wife and don't let your son do it because he's inept.
Don't let your inept son, who can't even string this bow that was given to him by like a god or something.
Yeah. It's just a real heavy bow.
It's just really it's funny. Like, is Odysseus like a demigod? Why is he so strong? Is there a reason for that?
He is just favored by the gods, I think.
Favored by the gods?
Yeah, by
okay.
Athena specifically.
Right, because she's the one who helps him every time he got like actually stuck.
Yeah, every time he ticked off some other god.
Right.
Athena was like, all right, well, man, I'll do something here.
But it took her like many years to interfere that one time. Right? Or no, somebody else had to come get him when he was stuck with
Calypso.
With Calypso, yeah. But he wasn't really stuck, was he? He was just kind of hanging out.
No, he was literally, it was just a party. It was a 10-year long party.
Yeah. He could have left at any time.
Yeah, he was having a great time at this party, and then he was like, I just realized my watch battery is dead. How long has it been?
How long has it been?
I gotta get home right now.
Like 10 years?
The oven's on.
I left the oven on for 10 years?
Oh my God. Oh, I'm gonna have to pay that gas bill.
That gas bill pretty insane. I lost like everything just to get here, and I'm not even close to being home yet.
All of my gold sunk with the ship. Oh man. Maybe that's why he stayed there for so long. He was like, I don't know how I'm going to pay off this.
Pay off this gas bill from leaving the oven on for 10 years.
Well, he must have war debt, though, right? Like, he probably borrowed a bunch of money and was like, hey, we're going to go take down the Trojans and come back with more money just for you if you pay for this.
Yeah.
Like, you buy me this bow, I'm going to go shoot a Trojan. I'm going to bring back 2 bows. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, heck yeah, you're Odysseus. You're strong. You go do that. We'll watch your tiny little son and make sure he does not grow into a strong man. And we'll take care of your wife for you. I'm sure she'll be fine on her own.
Wasn't there somebody there, like, making sure that nobody did anything weird to his wife, though? Like, specifically, was it just his son? Because he was like a tiny child when he left.
He was a small child when he left, and only a teenager when he came back.
Right, exactly. But I thought that there was somebody there, like, making sure that nobody tried to marry her.
Yeah,
while he was gone,
there was like some kind of statute of limitations, and it hit it was like at the 10-year mark.
Right,
she would have to marry somebody.
Right.
And Telemachus, I think, is the one who came up with the idea of like you have to shoot through the thing, or maybe she did. I don't remember. I don't know Odysseus' wife's name.
I don't know her name.
It's probably
either.
Like Girl Odysseus. Let's go with that.
Girl Odysseus, yeah.
Yeah.
Wife Odysseus. No, I thought it was his idea.
Odysseus's?
Yeah, he was like an old guy, and he was like, hey, or like a hobo. He was like, oh, why don't you just like try to shoot his bow? Whoever could shoot the guy's bow, whoever this guy is, I don't know. Whoever could shoot this dude's bow.
He sounds really cool, but I never met him, that's for sure.
Met him. He sounds like the best.
Yeah, tell me more about this Odysseus guy.
Like,
what do you all think about him?
Like, if I win this contest and marry his wife, like, I think I would rather just watch him sleep with her.
I bet if he somehow came back here, he probably picked up some cool bedroom moves from some nymphs. What do you think? Do you think that's plausible, guys? Do you think that? Yeah. Maybe that's what it was. He came back and and instead of his wife being all mad, she was like, "What were you doing?
Oh, you learned how to what now?
I'm sorry.
Favored by the gods, indeed."